So in our last video, we were hanging out in the Berry Islands down in Little Harbor near Flo's Conch Shack and nearby Hoffman Key where we did some jumping off a cliff, and then we met some local sea turtles, and Lori did some paddleboarding with Pancake. Brian got involved in some projects, had some mishaps, met up with some island guys to help us, and everything went downhill. In today's video, we spend Valentine's Day in Great Harbor Key in the Berry Islands. The girls get involved in some crafting. Brian has a strange encounter with a reptile while out fishing. We get involved with a little bit of maintenance projects at the marina. And then we do some planning for our trip from Great Harbor Key in the Berries to the Abacos and head up there and make a nice pass. Have you ever dreamed of selling it all and cruising into the sunset? Well, that's exactly what we did. It's no fun going it alone though, so why don't you join us for the ride? Of course, February brings Valentine's Day, so our group decided to go to a local restaurant on Great Harbor Key called Coulee Maze. This basically involves piling into flatbed trucks and sitting on laps in order to get everybody there. As this is one of the few restaurants on the island, most of the locals were going there as well. While it was really nice to see everybody, it was even nicer to catch these sunset views. Coulee Maze was looking good and all decked out for the groups. A little bit of Valentine decoration and a lot of leftover Christmas decoration. We were just happy to have a place to go. Back at the marina, the girls were getting crafty, doing some conch shell painting.
I love people's creative ideas. I don't have them I can copy, but I don't have original ideas.
Maybe because you're hungover.
I am actually not. So no.
So much for the sunglasses then.
Well, because it was bright when I left the boat.
How about these creative juices over here? What's going on here?
There's not much painting.
Look at this.
I feel like I'm in first grade again.
There's no wrong way.
That's right.
While the ladies were painting, I took a walk to a nearby area where they had been doing some construction for the last year. Supposedly a bar area next to the former pool. Now I understand why there hasn't been much completed in the last year. That pretty much sums up island construction. So after that, I finally did some fishing and was able to land my first keeper, a small little mutton snapper. Lori said it was delicious. I was actually fishing just off of Coulee Maze restaurant where we saw the nice sunset, and something caught my eye. Upon closer look, it wasn't the floating piece of rope that I thought it was, but rather a 6-foot boa constrictor. The center of the snake was all bloated, and my guess is it swallowed something big and possibly fell into the water and drowned. If I had a knife with me, I would have cut it open and looked, but I didn't have anything. My guess is it was an island chicken. In any event, the fish was tasty, and we spent the evening having cocktails on the flybridge as we often do.
So I'm coming to you today from the bowels of Valentine. Why do I say bowels? Because we're going to talk about bowels today. You see, We've been in this marina here in Great Harbor Key, and we use the bathroom, of course. We have a holding tank on board, but eventually the holding tank gets full. And there's no pump out facilities at all in the Bahamas, so every kind of 2 weeks we have to go out and dump our holding tanks. What does that mean? That means that we travel about 2-3 miles out away from the island, and we trigger a pump that then pumps out the tank into the ocean. And that's what everybody does, or everybody should do, though some boats never leave here. So, not quite sure what happens there, but I think you can leave that to the imagination. Anyhow, we're taking a little cruise pretty soon to do that. We all kind of call it a poo cruise. So that's on the early agenda for today, but it's a necessary evil. You can see these meters that we have in the bathroom. This one tells us our fresh water. We have a holding tank for fresh water, or I should say a freshwater supply tank. And we're kind of near 3/4 there, so that's good. This tells us our holding tank. It's the black water or the nasty water. It's basically toilet water. And we're getting up near the high mark, and it starts to have unpleasant odors outside the boat when your holding tank gets kind of full, and that's how we know it's time to go dump. So at the electrical panel here, typically we'll go out, and Lori will then, as I captain up top, Lori will come down and hit this lever right here. It's the holding tank pump. Push this breaker over, and that'll trigger the pump, and in about 5 to 10 minutes it should pump out everything that we no longer want on the boat. So we took a little excursion today, just around the corner in Great Harbor, to a place called Bau Beach. Why is it called that? Because supposedly Bridget Bardot sunbathed here in the nude back in the day, 60s, late 60s. This is Bau Beach. So we're with a group of PDQers, so there probably no nude sunbathing today. We could all agree. It's not for this group.
So back at the marina, kind of saw this boat here. Swim ladder was left in the water probably for many, many months, maybe even a year, I don't know. But the growth on it is absolutely amazing. This is its own little coral reef. And my guess is the owner does not want to be contacted.
So it's Sunday morning. What is it? What's the date? Feb 22nd, I think. 23rd. We are headed off to the Abacos with 2 other PDQs today. They decided to join us with Flip, Turn, and Adventure Us. And we are taking a different route, hopefully a smoother route. We're going up the bight of Abaco. We've never done that before. So it's about 30 miles, like open water, and I think then we get on a little bit of a shallower, so smoother side. So that's the plan today. Probably going to do like a 10-hour day. But so far so good. We're running radar. It's a little dark out. And we're ready to rock and roll. Cruising on down. Cruising on up, I should say.
We're in the Berry Islands right now, roughly here, and we want to go north to the Abacos, roughly here. I'll switch to this layer chart so we can see some depth here. And we have 2 options on a way to get to the Abacos. We can go to the right side or the ocean side of the Abacos, and you can see by the dark here that shows depth, it's very deep. In fact, it's thousands of feet deep. If we go on the left side of the Abacos, it's shallow with the lighter blue here, and that is about maybe 10-12 feet deep. And that's the other way to go. The problem with that one is it's much longer, probably about 25% longer. The issue is with the weather forecast, and it's saying that on the right side of the Abacos, or the ocean side, there's going to be 4 to 5 foot seas, which is not going to be comfortable. On the left side, which is known as the Bight of Abaco, is supposed to be 1-foot seas. So that's going to be the route that we take. The first part of our trip was about 30 miles from the Berry Islands to the Bight of Abaco, and that was a little lumpy, but not terrible. Pancake doesn't really like the lumps, so her defense mechanism is to try and sleep through it. Our buddy boats for this little journey were Adventurous and Branching Out, and Island Time was leading the pack. Once we got to the Bight of Abaco, the watercolor changed to a light green, which indicated a more shallow water. I think it was about 14-15 feet deep, and it was far less lumpy. The first settlement that we passed was a place called Hard Bargain on Moores Island. Word has it that this is the place to stop in the Bahamas for some good stone crab, but we just didn't have the time. An hour or two later, we were making some good time, but the wind shifted off of our side, so it was hitting us broadside on our beam. We call that beam seas, and it got a little bit lumpy again. Essentially, the wind is what causes waves, and in this case, it hit us on our side and was forcing us left and right, back and forth. Not very comfortable. As we got closer to the top of the bight, we got closer to land, which offered some protection, and it smoothed out very nicely. This was the most shallow part of our journey, but it was about 2 hours before high tide, so we had adequate depth. We also passed an island called Little Cave Key. This would have been our kind of plan B. If anybody had engine trouble or we had bad weather, we would have ended up staying here for the night. But everything went well, so we decided to plow on. We passed this little rock formation on the way, and the charts called it out as the center of the world rock.
So we just anchored after about a 9-hour day. It took us from Great Harbor Key in the Berry Islands up into the Abacos. We crossed through the Bight of Abaco, which we've never done before. Then we came up and around, and we're right where Great Abaco meets, I think, Little Abaco. And everybody is pretty exhausted from the trip. So it's time for some cocktails. But let's have a look around this beautiful anchorage here. Behind me, Adventurous is with us, and the former flip turn, which is, I think, branching out. Yeah. We have a nice little anchorage here all to ourselves. We'll pick up a marina tomorrow because it's supposed to be some gusty winds overnight, so we're just gonna grab a marina for the day over at Green Turtle Key. But it's the first time for these guys. The Abacos, so we're looking forward to it, showing them around a little bit. Had a great day. Hey.
Hey.
How was your day?
It was great.
Yeah? It's a good trip?
It was a good trip. It was a little rolly at the beginning.
Wasn't it? Past the cruise ships at what, was it Great Stirrup or?
Yeah, Cocoa Key.
Cocoa Key.
And, but it cleaned, like, I don't know, after 2 hours or so on the bank, it was nice, and it's been nice since. So I just think everybody's, well, can't speak for everybody, but I'm exhausted doing nothing. So Captain's got to be even more exhausted.
Yeah, we're a little tired, but time for cocktails.
Cakes is ready for a cocktail.
We already have our cocktail on.
Gin and tonic.
So it was good, yeah. Yeah, so when we were pulling out of Great Harbor Key and past where all the cruise ship private islands, 2 Royal Caribbeans were docking. One was Utopia of the Seas, one of the largest cruise ships in the world. And I think then Liberty was coming in, and they were right on our rum line, right exactly where we were going and traveling. So I had to hail them on the radio, and they got on right away, and they told me that they were backing in, and we said we'd pass them starboard to starboard, so our right side to their right side. The captain or the officer, whoever we spoke to, was super nice about it. And it was good because of the little hairy. There's some big boats there. So overall, navigation-wise, we had a pretty good day.
So overall, a great day, great trip, and a beautiful sunset to end our day. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us on this trip. And if you like our channel, please subscribe.